Welcome to another very exciting session of healthcare entrepreneurship. So, today we are going to talk about where we left in the last class and go from there. Okay. So, let us get started. So, the third sentence, if we can look at in the box, first box, which has this huge gap, all of a sudden there was a smaller gap between the first and the second sentence. There is this huge gap then, and the bullet has also changed. The bullet marker, it has moved from square to circle, and basically you're seeing this sentence which is acquire hands-on experience with product design, optimization and whatnot. This has moved completely to the left. This is a totally staggered kind of platform, right? Let's take a look parallelly as a comparison into the box on the right. So you have learning outcomes, which is centered. You have all the 3 points which are normally aligned towards the left with proper bullets. They are of the same significance, like so nothing is blue, nothing is standing out going here and there. So it is visually appealing to look at. We all appreciate symmetries, right? Like, so if we see some symmetry in something, that is usually visually appealing. So this is nice. Another layer of this which I can personally comment is, maybe if you put like a right alignment, that will make sure that this is totally aligned like across the right side as well, because right side you still have a lack of consistent overlays. So these kind of things may not sound very relevant like to the particular product which you're trying to build, or a service which you're trying to build, but these elements are going to stay within your app or within your user manual, or using into the certain screens which you're going to focus as a part of your product. So if you have things which are going here and there, the readability becomes diminished. So this kind of nice readability, option B, is looking nice visually, right? So this is a matter of unity. So this is the visual design principle, unity. Is it all unified or is it non-unified, right? Let's look at the next example. Second example is hierarchy. Hierarchy basically, as we could think of the word, basically means somebody is above us and somebody is below us, kind of a setting, right? So there is a certain hierarchy in a system, or hierarchy in the set of words and write-ups. So this is another set of write-up where in the left side you are seeing northeast monsoon over south India got highest rains since 1901, says IMD, sorry, and this particular thing has a very clear highlight. The font is bolded and it is much more of the larger size compared to the rest of the components of this particular box. Then you have in a grayscale, the northeast monsoon is confirmed to South India and brings rainfall blah 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 up to Karnataka, right? So this is nicely aligned with the left and kind of moving in a different font and color. So basically the key highlight is the title of the particular news article, and then you start reading about this grayscale details of the write-up. Then you have a lower font which is written by Anjali Marar. This is just a pseudo person from Pune, January this, and at this PM, right? So this is not of utmost importance who really wrote this article, but you still have this placed like at a different font, so you could click on it. Also the name of the person, if you want to check this person out, how many articles he or she may have written. And with the age of social media, we would like to see sometimes, like, if somebody has that right experience to write something. And these kind of news articles also we are looking at from a press release standpoint. Very often for our products and services we do the same for our products. So basically whenever you're looking at this press release articles, this is some nice outline to look at, right? Then you have basically a kind of definition where the Indian Meteorological Department IMD Saturday declared that as the rainfall associated with the northeast monsoon came to an end, South India had received 579.1 millimeters rain, the highest since 1901. So this is kind of like in a lower font, almost in sync with the font of the writer's definition, right? So these are highlighted less for the fact that these are less important details, right? So hierarchy here is basically you're starting with the title, then you basically focus your attention to the news, and then maybe towards the writer and some extra details. right? Let's take a look at option B. So option B, the highlight kind of shifts towards the news here, because that is the largest font which I am looking at, and even a little larger or almost the same as written by Anjali Madar. So basically, is this something important for a news article? Like if you have a press article or some kind of a pitch for your particular product in a app setting, you do not want to look at who the writer is, right? That's not the relevant point. You want to pitch for what is important, the key highlight and then the news, or key highlight and then the features, right? So this is a little bit wrongly positioned option B, right, where you have this name of the writer really big, and then you have the news which is important. So first you look at the writer, then the news, and maybe into the top highlights, but that's in at the lowest font. So you would usually look at the bottommost, like then as the third priority, with the Indian Meteorological Department and so forth is going to go on, which is not very relevant, and the last thing which you look at is the top highlight, right? So this kind of a hierarchy is a complicated hierarchy. This is not following the right hierarchy, right? Like which needs to be where. So this kind of setting is very, very important from a visual design principle standpoint, to look at the correct hierarchy based on whatever you think needs a much more clear highlight, then what aspects of your design needs a much lesser highlight, right? Let's take another example. Next is scale. Scale is another design principle where how is your particular set of items, like within a particular screen of your app, or like your product guideline or product outline, looking in comparison to each other. So let's take a look at option A. Option A, you have this small picture of something which I cannot typically decipher or really tell what this is, whether this is a matchbox or this is some kind of a scent, or this is some tablets or capsules, cannot really decipher like what exactly this is. So then you read this, everything starts with the gut, which is really standing out, like everything starts with the gut. You get a little intrigued. Then you basically look at this, gut health is the foundation of good health. But even before you go to this, the next thing which you look at is shop now. So everything starts with the gut, shop now. So does this make a lot of sense? That's the question. So the answer to that is no, right? Everything starts with the gut has no relevance or meaning to what I really want, and I do understand it starts with the gut. So what do I shop for now, right? I need to understand the product first before I shop now. So basically the highlights are kind of mismatched or misplaced, right? Or the scale is not correct in comparison to which way one should be. So here we cannot call this a hierarchy, because we don't have the same kind of elements. Like in the hierarchy example, what we had was just words which are having different bolds or higher size and whatnot. Here we have different elements. We have pictures, we have a shop now button, and we have a highlight and a detail of the highlight basically. So these are wrongly scaled, right? So your first notice would be either the everything starts with the gut or shop now, and vice versa. You will try to figure out what this product is, you will probably not. And then the third thing is, you maybe read on this if you still have some interest left. So you read this as follows: gut health is the foundation of good health. Meet our bestseller, a vegan spore based probiotic, clinically proven to improve digestion and reduce IBS symptoms. We deliver a formula in time delay capsules made from pine bark for optimum absorption. So looks like a good product, but would I be interested in looking at this product definition? Probably not. So option B here is basically everything starts with the gut is kind of highlighted. So that's probably the first or the second thing which I look at, and the other thing which I look at is the product. So within this product, I cannot 100% make out what that box is for, but I can do make out these looks like capsules. So basically this is some kind of a pharma product which is very, very clear to me, right? So this clarity also brings in a lot of visual appeal, and now I am intrigued that everything starts with the gut, and maybe I have a gut problem, and now I am looking at some capsules. So this is something which is betterment for the betterment of the gut. So now I can look further. So I don't have to shop now just yet. So now I can look at this gut health is the foundation of good health and blah blah blah, and the shop now option is almost of the similar scale to this setting. So I could read on this and basically then click the shop now. It's visually appealing, it's the right scaling, right? So I know what the product is, I know what the highlight is, it has intrigued me enough to read through the details and go for the shopping experience, right? So think about, this is your product, let's say in a particular domain you're trying to build this new kind of capsules or pharmaceutical products out of some natural remedies or whatnot, and you're trying to sell this in the market, you would probably go with option B rather than A. You know, sometimes we would like to highlight or we miss out on the aspects of the scaling, and you would see this very often with your PPTs. Like, just take a look at your PowerPoint presentations which you make for your company or your product. Most of your ideas would come from there. Are you scaling them correctly? Do you have symmetry, or do you have the right hierarchy? This is where the pitch starts from. So think about also pitching for this kind of a product to a venture capitalist who is going to fund your product, right? When they look at the pitch B, they are going to be intrigued and really excited because they have looked at the product now, the highlight is very clear, they have read the details, they are willing to shop now. When they look at option A, they would basically be a little turned off that we don't know what this product really looks like. Can you have one or two more slides where you can showcase the product? And probably they have a few minutes of time only to look at your particular product. So you lose your opportunity. So I have to emphasize the very importance of the visual design elements and the principles here beyond the technology which we are trying to offer. You know, like these kind of settings are very, very important. The next thing is contrast. So typically you would like to have the right contrast for the product pitch or any kind of service pitch which you are trying to make, and this could have applications on top of your product, on top of your product packaging, guideline, or the app or the website, right? So these are the different applications. Let us look at option A of the contrast. So you have this great Republic Day sale which is from this to this Jan. So when I first look at this box, I'm going to look at the figure on the left, right? This is attracting my attention. Then the next one is big savings for everyone. This is the next thing which attracts my attention. So red always stands out, you know, like that's the first thing which will catch your eye, and the second part is like I'm looking at this different color, big savings for everyone. Then I would read these great prices, secure payments, easy return, and then finally the sale starts 24 hours early for Prime members. So something like this is most likely on Amazon, and they're looking at some kind of a Prime member membership, or could be a different company, right? So the contrast here is very clear. We are looking at the key ad, which is Great Republic Day sale. We know it's for a fact there is a sale. Next is, I know there is going to be some savings. It is getting me more and more excited, right? Then I'm looking at great prices, secure payments, easy return, even more, a little bit more excited. Then finally the sale starts 24 hours early for Prime members, least highlighted, right, or least contrast. Now let's look at option B, where you have Great Republic Day sale, 17 to 20th Jan, big savings for everyone, sales start 24 hours for Prime members. I'll probably even not want to read this. You know, this looks like somebody has just written this on a Word document and just published it. If you look at a lot of websites which are not professionally built or apps which are not professionally built, you will be actually looking at option B. Believe me or not, like you look at these kind of websites which are not professionally built for very small companies, where figures, there is a nice picture of something which has been stretched beyond its limits, like there is some blurring and all that. You know as a fact this is a company which is not doing very well. This is the first perception, right? They may be doing really good sales, but in the back of your mind you would like the website and the portal where you're buying from to be very, very clean, right? So some of the examples are, if you are looking at some kind of medical colleges and you're looking at some of the private colleges, look at their websites and apps, very, very clean. If you're looking at few government colleges and where things have not been updated maybe in 6 years or 7 years, or some state owned colleges, like you will see their websites are not very attractive. They may be really good in education, but that's a visual element. It doesn't give you a nice appeal to start with. Similar with your products, right? So I would never go for this option B, because this is not giving the right contrast, and I don't know where exactly to focus. I may end up focusing in the bottom one because it has a different size, right? So the Great Republic Day sale part is missing, the big savings is missing. I am not looking at the right aspects, right? Okay, so let's take another example. This is from the visual design principles of balance, where everything should be kind of balanced and symmetric. So this is from IIT Delhi, right? So you are looking at the web portal of IIT Delhi, where option A is basically you are looking at department, centers, schools and centers for excellence. So they are kind of very balanced all across, ranging from the left to right. They are kind of all laid out. So you could click on any of those, like based on your interest, right? Now, whatever you want to survey or take a look at. The option B is where the department and centers are kind of at the focus, and you may look at this schools and centers for excellence at a later stage. So here you are specifically trying to highlight the departments and centers and kind of offset the highlight from the schools and centers for excellence, kind of conveying that these are not very important. This is another design, right? So the question is, which one would you go for? So if this is in a particular case, like if you feel like the schools and centers for excellence are not important for the general crowd, option B may work, right? But typically option A is which is visually appealing, right? So this is something I would go for, very similar to your app based platform where you would like to have that. Okay, next is Gestalt, which is basically another design principle, where let's take a look at this two set of news articles. So you're looking at bunch of news articles put together. What is the difference which we see here? We see a few swaps where few articles are here and there and kind of moved around, like, so what is the visual difference? So typically if I look at option A, what would I think? There is this story about this plane and then this overweight armadillo, IS prison break in some West Syria. Then I talk, so there is this news highlights, and then there is sports, under which Liverpool beat Palace to cut Man City lead. Burnley holds Arsenal in draw in Africa Cup of Nations. So this is very clearly demarcated that these are the news highlights, these are sports. Option B, if you look at, there is no demarcation of the news highlights and the sports. Rather, you see everything in a very mixed platform, right? Very often than not, like, we will have also our apps and websites look like this, right? Where we do not have a very clear and clean demarcation of where the customer should focus on. So if you do not have a clear shopping button, or clearly where they can see all the products and have can make a purchase decision, like they will not be very happy. Many a times, companies do things like price on call or something like that, where the prices are not mentioned. So in this kind of a generation, like if this is a product built for customers and customers like us and not for businesses, people do not have so much of bandwidth and patience to really call somebody and figure out what the prices are, unless and until they're very, very interested in your product. So it is a nice idea to give the price where they can very clearly kind of think about that this is this product and I feel like this price is suitable for me. So it's a buy decision or a non-buy decision. This makes your life as a company very easy, right? Whenever you have this business tactics like price on call or please fill this form to understand our price, and then you will have some people call them over 5 times a day or 5 times a week, that is very, very disappointing. That kind of a business tactic, I don't think personally things are working very well these days, because most of these calls I'll just hold the call sometimes if I'm attending to all my unknown numbers, and whenever they start speaking, I'll just drop the call, right? So that's not a great way of trying to learn about the price. If you have everything very clearly kind of laid out, somebody can go into the price, what the features are, and quickly make a purchase decision. So very similar to here, option A, if somebody wants to just look at the news highlights, they can click one of these, and sports, whosoever is interested can go here. So very clear and clean, right? So We'll like to go with option A here. The next design principle is dominance. So, dominance is where basically certain aspects of the design dominates over the other. So, option A, let us take a look. You have my search, which is in a very small segment. So, the dominance here is news, which is latest, world, India, fashion, entertainment, and with a go option with a search button, right. The second option B is where you have the dominance on my search. Typically your eyes would go to my search, and you would not really know what this my search does. The next thing which your eyes goes to is the search button, and maybe you would then look into this news, which is latest, world, India, fashion, entertainment, right. So, which one out of these do you think is a better description for your particular search engine or particular app, you know? So, I would go with typically the first one, because I think my search here is not very important, because there are so many search servers. Does not matter what your company really has been named. What is really important is this clear highlight, what is this particular one page trying to offer, right. So, news, different kinds of news, and then the person knows I have to go for this search option. Second option is the focus is on the logo of the company, so nobody really knows by that time they go down, and they may just close that window and go ahead, right. So, this kind of dominance sometimes has to be done right, that what really dominates in your visual elements. Let us go next. So, these are some examples which we had been studying in the previous lectures. We have talked at length about this project Halo. So, let us take a minute to kind of look at the visual design elements here, and if this looks appealing. So, the focus here is on Halo. That is the first thing I would which would come to my mind while looking at this picture. The second thing I would try to look at is maybe the watch, which is kind of a little bit in the background, but I do know this is some form of a watch. And the third, or this it could be the second also, your health tracking buddy. So, Halo and health, your health tracking buddy is very clear. So, I feel like personally this is a nice visual design where the product name is very clear. Then the next thing is your health tracking buddy, and the third one is the kind of subtle picture of the watch. Of course, this picture of the watch can be a little better. I feel like this could be construed as something else, like if this was a product which is made for a segment which has no idea what smartwatches are, typically. So, that could be improved, but typically this initial logo is kind of nice and clean. This is the first pitch statement which we are looking at. The next option is eHub. So, this is another project. If you look at this eHub logo with a hand showing some rupees, you probably know that you are trying to manage some money or something, but it is not very clear from this eHub logo that what exactly does this particular company stand for, right, particular product stands for. So, many a times you may argue that even in Apple nobody would know what the Apple stands for. That is not true, right. These are some very well known brands, or you look at a Pepsi symbol, or you look at an Airbnb symbol, you would know as a fact. You have seen this particular design aspects in so many places, banners, as ads, whenever you have actually availed any of these services or products, you have seen this. But if you are starting with a new company, you better have your logo and your first pitch statement right. This kind of a eHub kind of thing is not very self-explanatory, like what exactly is it trying to do. Now, the next thing, if you do happen to read as the next slide, which is the opportunity to seed fund an app-based financial advisor called eHub. Now, it is like, oh, now I know what eHub is, right, to some extent, but this is also not very clear. Opportunity to seed fund an app-based financial advisor called eHub. What does it really mean? Is it something which will give me seed funds for my app, or is it an advisor? So, look at the wordings, choice of wordings, right. So, the choice of the sentence or the minimal words which you use for your initial pitching makes a lot of sense. So, you would like to use some keywords and specific definitions to make sure your product really stands out visually. This third example is eMedivault. Right. So, eMedivault is an example where they are trying to look at certain aspects of saving the patient data and the hospital data at a single repository. That was the idea of the this particular project, and I've explained it before. But if you would have not known this, would you understand what this eMedivault really stands for? There is some kind of a cloud, which could be things storing in the cloud, possible. If you think about, then you have this kind of trident which you do not know what this specifically looks at, and you have this two kind of visually appealing logo, but doesn't really have too much of information. Of course, the term eMedivault, medi has something to do with medicine, and vault is something where you save things, so and electronics. So this term or the name of the company is really nice, I would think personally, because e-commerce based or electronic medical vault, where you save some form of data, but the logo is not very appealing. It may look nice, but it doesn't give too much of information, right? So these are some examples of the visually appealing and non-appealing elements of the visual design, and sometimes this becomes a really important aspect of how your particular product or service is kind of perceived. Another example here is this is a company which is known as ShapeCrunch. So what typically ShapeCrunch does is it produces custom 3D printed insoles. This is a Delhi based company, and they are trying to basically, this is more of a startup mode. They are trying to sell this custom 3D printed insoles to a lot of folks in different regions, and they usually do an online sales. These days they are doing some sales from Amazon as well, right? So let's take a look at their logo and what they stand for, right? So they have this nice picture which clearly shows that these are insoles which are within the shoes. So the first highlight when I look at this picture is I look at the shoe with the insole. So most likely I figure out it's either a insole company or a shoe with an insole company. So it's somewhere related to footwear. The next thing which I look at is ShapeCrunch. ShapeCrunch doesn't give me too much of information of what this company really stands for, and here you would see the shape is kind of bolded. So the focus is on shape, and crunch is like a small kind of much more non-bolded kind of setting, like much more thinner lines into that wordings. So just from this focus on ShapeCrunch, would I be able to understand what this particular product stands for? So I would personally think a no, like, because ShapeCrunch with this small box, I would start to think about these are possibly shoes or some shoe plus insole, which has to be which can be folded or can be squeezed to a very small amount of space. Something like that is probably the crux of that company, right? So this particular thing like ShapeCrunch logo may be little not very self-explanatory, and but if we are looking at the other sentence on the left and trying to dig in, which is custom 3D printed insoles, now we know as a fact. So after the third layer I know as a fact, so this company basically deals with insoles. So this is all public information. You can look up ShapeCrunch on Google and see this is the kind of logo. I just picked it up from there. Then they have also placed a mobile phone which is very nicely placed, where they have kind of showcased their app, which is this different directions of the foot, and what I could feel from this is like this is something to do with foot measurements and different foot deformities or some kind of a betterment to the foot. So now when I have looked at all these 4 layers of this product or this particular picture, now I am very clear what this product stands for, right? So sometimes this layering is also another aspect through which a product is kind of introduced, and I think it's a very nice layering, right? Of course, ShapeCrunch is the name of their company, could be for several different reasons, maybe they're selling several other things, or that's what their agenda is. But the idea is they're into the footwear domain. They're trying to sell an insole, specifically custom 3D printed insoles with an app. What is this particular app used for? That is not very clear from this picture, but if you dig up ShapeCrunch, you will see this particular app is used for giving the right specs and through pictures the model of your foot and things like that, so that your particular custom insole can be built very nicely and coherently. So this is one of the examples of nice visual layering. Another example is this company known as Upright. So basically upright, as we can think of, upright is something which is kind of upright, or if you do not, if you are not very good in English, you would think this is something to do with being right or wrong. So upright go to. So when you first look at this product, you would not have a very clean idea of what this product really is offering. Then you read at this first highlight, which is basically your personal posture trainer. Now you know as a fact that it is your personal posture trainer. Your personal is kind of not highlighted, and posture trainer is highlighted. So this is one of the very key medical products which are used for if somebody is having some kind of a neck or back pain because they are sitting on their computer by stooping like this, or is not sitting like this or that. You know, you have to be upright so that you do not encounter some kind of a muscle fatigue or straining, and you do not have a neck or some form of back pain, right? So this is for that correction, and typically if you search up this product on Google, you will see this as an app which kind of tracks that if you're having the right posture or you have been sitting in the wrong posture for a while, and it will give you a correction that maybe after 5 or 6 minutes it will start a beep that please correct your posture, otherwise you may face a backache, right? So these kind of things will happen, you know. So looking at the visual elements, upright, which is kind of visually green, which is a highlight, then go to is probably a version of it, like which is clear. So upright is a specific brand which you're looking at. Your personal is kind of a little hidden because of the coloring. Posture trainer, so first thing which you look at is posture trainer. It's very clear what the product is. Then you look at your personal, so this is a personal level aspect, right? It is not something which a doctor would use. So this is your personalized kind of product. And the third thing which you do look from this side is a woman who is kind of putting her hands up, and she has something on her back, most likely this upright go. So if you're really interested in this product, you will have some vision of this woman like who is trying to correct her posture or do something, some form of yoga or something out of it. So out of this entire thing, now you're very clear what this product stands for. So this is again a nice visually appealing you know, pitch. So think about your products or services when the customers are first taking a look of it. They are not going to take the look of your product first before the packaging, right? So the first thing which they are going to take a look is at the packaging. So your package needs to have enough amount of information very clearly highlighted, because I would think of these kind of products being sold as a part of you know, Amazon, or Amazon if you are actually digging for it, or in a pharmacy where you know, you are strolling through the different aisles and you all of a sudden like come across this particular product, and you are kind of curious what this particular product is, and this doesn't have a very defined aisle of back pain or anything, but like this is just hanging in there. So you take a look at this product, and the first thing which you have to know is oh, now I know what this product is, right? That kind of a eureka moment needs to come in. If you do not know what your product particularly is, then you will not go further for your purchasing, and your internal product, which may be technically very sound, you spend like 5 years of your work trying to improvise the product, you put AI, machine learning, so many other aspects to it, have put in a lot of funds, it's all going to be a waste if your packaging is not very appealing. So these kind of visual design elements, which is pictures of the packaging, very clear highlights of what the product is sometimes very important. While you're pitching also, you know, like, so sometimes it's a good idea as a part of your customer discovery or business model canvas development, that you have a nice packaging or nice kind of outside visual element to showcase to your customers and get a feedback. What do you feel this product stands for, or would you buy this particular product if this was the packaging? So these are some of the insights which are very valuable and you would like to get for your products and services, and do look out for these visual elements and try to incorporate for the same in your all the healthcare products and services, right? So with that, we have completed majority of the products for the visual element standpoint. Another last example is one of the services, which is hospital, which is specifically you're looking at Max Healthcare. We know as a fact this is very popular hospital. So healthcare is, it's standing for healthcare, and Max is of course a brand already. What the specifically logo stands for, you're looking at the plus symbol, which kind of signifies the healthcare logo, and then you have certain other aspects which are part of their branding, right? So Max is the brand and healthcare is very clearly there. What are these specifically offering? There is a company known as Max Life as well, like, which is part of Max. So is it Max Life or Max Healthcare? Healthcare very clearly demarcates that this is for some kind of a health diagnosis or treatment, or these are part of hospitals. Life has something to do with insurances and other aspects, right? Welcome students again. Hope you all are doing well to a very exciting session of healthcare entrepreneurship. So in the previous lectures we have talked about designs, how to really design a product or service. We have moved from the ideation and conception phase to the design phase. So today we will cover one topic under the design module, which is on the UX and UI design. A lot of you must be very excited to hear about these terms, and you may be hearing them very often as a part of management lectures or products which are coming out. So let's take a look what they are. So let's get started. So what is the difference between UX and UI? UX is a user experience design, and UI stands for a user interface design, right? So very often than not, they may look to be very similar, but there are quite subtle differences and significant differences as well between these two topics. So UX, under the UX category, you have interaction design, because it's the component where the user basically has an experience with a certain design which you're offering as a part of your product or service. And then there are wireframes. Wireframes are typically the outlines of the product or service which you're offering. So they could be in the form of low fidelity sketches to very high fidelity apps, and the product out demo, like where it's a completely functionalized product. So totally depends on like how we portray or which level of fidelity are we at, like in our product development process. You also have information about the architecture of the product or service, and during this phase, basically into the user experience phase, you do a lot of user research to understand whether the product or service which you're trying to offer is really valuable to the users. Will they be able to use it in a very nice and friendly manner, or is it very difficult to use or something very difficult to operate, right? There are so many examples. I'd given an example of a thermometer where it has just a 2 or 3 buttons, and like then 30 to 40 different operations which can be basically invoked through different levels of button operations. So you have to place the button once versus twice, or hold it for 2 seconds, and so forth. So things can get very, very complex with this kind of a design environment, right? So why not make it simple? Add a few more buttons and reduce down the number of operations, right? So that's what user experience is about. Is the user able to experience the right kind of things which he or she is expecting out of a product, or is it very difficult to use, right? And there are so many scenarios which are usually taken into account while you do a user experience study. So this is kind of evolved as a field of study, so this is not a single set of lecture which can do a lot of justice to user experience, but I'll try to give you a snapshot. User interface, on the other side, is how we basically perceive or interact with the interface, what we are seeing from specifically from an app development or a digital platform standpoint, right? So in the previous lecture we had talked about visual design, how several of the visual design elements are very useful, like there could be certain colors which are of use, and there could be certain way of placing things in a certain digital platform, where they are located, how things are bifurcated, if they are in the correct order or completely staggered. So I had taken so many examples out there how visual design becomes important, right? Colors are part of that, graphic design, layouts, topography. If you have like a very clean topography versus like places where things are looking a little haywire, right? So that's about the user interface. So we had talked quite a bit at length about user interface. So today's focus would be on the user experience, and you will say that the interface usually comes in between while we are talking about the user experience in several forms and shapes, right? So we'll be seeing the user interface component of it very often, right? So having this difference where interface is basically something which we are looking at and interacting directly, UX is basically the overall experience a product or a platform provides you, right? Like it has to do with the interface, it has to do with the product delivery, it has to do with the kind of customers it is catering to. Is this the right product or service for me as a customer, or is this more suitable for a different set of customers? So the overall experience of purchasing a product and using it is covered by the UX, or the user experience design, right? So let's go further. So to define and put things into words, user experience is how a person or the user feels about interacting or experiencing a product, right? So the user here is any person who uses the product. So all of us pretty much, if a particular product is catered to us, and the end user is the specific audience of a UX designer creates something for, right? So there are so many possible users who can possibly use a product, and there are several users who are the actual target customers who would appreciate the product. So an example is like so these are some examples of cartoons a lot of us can maybe relate with very easily. So many of these cartoons are available like in Cartoon Network and other places, like these days in online. Basically the idea is this content has been kind of created for the general masses, right? But there are very few set of target customers who can actually experience or give a genuine feedback about this kind of a product. One example is the children, right? Like there could be adults also watching it, but there are specific categories, specific age groups of children with a certain interest area. If you are looking at kids with a certain language barrier, then they may not be able to understand these cartoons unless it's translated, right? So that also becomes part of the user experience. Are you giving them the right experience? So many a times we watch movies or series like which are in a different language. It could be from the in a language from the southern part of India, and basically we are seeing a dubbed version. It's probably a very nice series or movie, but you're still seeing a dubbed version, which doesn't give you the best experience per se when you hear the characters speak in their own language and have the right moments being captured, right? So that's your target audience. So target audience was in this specific example the southern Indian population who are basically looking at this particular product, which is a movie here, and the general masses which this is built for is like the general population, where this could be coming in different dubbed versions, so they may not get the best user experience, right? So there are four important components of user experience. One is it should be usable. So whenever we are talking about a user, it has to be something which is usable. Is a little different than useful. Useful is something which is of use. Like usable is, can you use it easily? That is what usable basically means here, right? So can I take a simple device or simple app platform or simple something in the healthcare domain which we are trying to create and quickly understand what this exactly does? And am I able to solve my problem which I am facing currently with your particular product or solution, right? Very quickly. So usability or usable, is it usable? Second is equitable. Equitable is a little different from being equal, and I'll explain that in the upcoming slides. So equitable basically means is this something which everybody can have a fair usage of, right? So there could be certain products which are specifically built for the elderly, but may find use for the healthcare population across few different age groups. So can you make this product equitable so that somebody in their 50s is able to use this product with the similar kind of mindset and ease of use like as an elderly person would do it, right? Or there are cases in which a certain bigger age group or a larger age group is basically targeted. Can you make sure it's kind of like, let's say 40 to 60? So 40 to 60 or 40 to 70 age group doesn't behave similarly with a product or service, right? They may have different requirements, different mindsets, and different perception about your product. So can you be equitable from a design standpoint so that all of these users belonging from different age categories within this bigger group which you are targeting is able to use the product rightly, right? So that is equitable, and we'll talk more about equitability. Next is enjoyable. You should be enjoying your experience. That's also very important. Like, sometimes it's a very niche product which is specifically built around your use, but you should have some enjoyment out of it. Like, for example, like when you use an Apple Watch for your health tracking or any other kind of monitoring, it gives you a moment of enjoyment that this is a very nice and clean environment. I would really like to click the next thing and find out what's out there. And not only with Apple watches, there are so many other watches which will give you a similar atmosphere, right? Similarly, with products which are nice and sleek looking, you would like to press in a few places and really understand like what this is about, right? So very recent example, I bought one of this basically the cord, kind of this extension cords which we use for having a lot of devices run. So one of these extension cords which we had been earlier using has this kind of bare openings where kids can kind of put their fingers in, and there could be so many things. So this is the first extension cord which comes with a covering, right? This is very, very interesting. This comes with a nice covering, and it looks like a box which is sitting there with a large amount of aesthetic value. It looks like something which is either a kind of a scent dispenser or some kind of like a nice aesthetic looking thing, right? So now this entire thing with the purpose of which was just to give you electricity and like an extension of the different power points has turned into a nice aesthetic product which you were thinking in your mind as an enjoyable product to use, right? So that's a similar experience you want to give with your healthcare products as well, right? So many a times there are particular insoles which comes with something extra. You could have an extra layer of cushion which is given addition, right? So you're wearing this nice diabetic insole, and it comes with an extra layer of cushion just in case like things wear off. So you find it enjoyable that now I can replace it whenever things go bad, right? So this kind of enjoyable experience with products and services are useful. One of the classic examples is when you're looking at the menu in Zomato, for example. So you're looking through your particular, let's say you want to get biryani or whatever particular food you would like, let's say pizza. And it's a very enjoyable experience to look through some of these places and see all the price points, the nice looking dishes and whatnot. So that's a nice enjoyable experience, right? Similar with Uber or some kind of a cab booking softwares. Majority of them would not look very good, but Uber has a very nice platform, very nice and clean. You can see the map, you can see where you want to go, very clear fare. It's not like fares are hidden, things will change later. So these kind of things, people don't find it very enjoyable, right? So it should be enjoyable. And the last one is useful. Like I had said before, usable is very different from useful. So useful experience is something which really finds use. Like, so there are so many products which are built and they do not have a lot of use. One classic example is given of the face shield. So face shields had a lot of use during the pandemic, but if somebody has mass produced this face shield and trying to find a use now, like they do not have a use, right? Similar with a lot of mask manufacturing, right? A lot of SpO2 monitoring. Like, do we do SpO2 monitoring these days? Like, I highly doubt, unless there is some kind of a throat infection where you suspect you may have COVID. You will never use your SpO2 monitors, right? So they are just lying on the sides. Probably the batteries are draining, and nobody is buying those, right? So companies were, several of the companies, you will be surprised to hear, were just built around the COVID scenario, where they were just producing masks, face shields, SpO2 monitors, which are cost effective, very low cost, and things which could be quickly turned around. They probably made a lot of profits, but they mass produced a lot of things, not assuming that when the pandemic is going to kind of officially end or transition to a phase, that it's not taken very seriously, right? So that's where the SpO2 monitors have lost their charm. Nobody is buying them, right? And could be with several similar other components like the thermometers. So a lot of these digital thermometers were of big use. They are not being used currently, right? So every private or government organization, multiple places, they would have this digital thermometers for scanning, but they are not being used currently. Nobody cares about their use, right? So they would not be procured any further, and it's no more useful. So whenever you try to launch your product, this user experience comes before you actually get to launch your products, right? So we would talk about the launching of the product in our last module, which is commercialization. Everything which we are discussing now is basically building the foundation towards building that product or the product development before actual commercialization, right? So we are trying to understand all the different facets of product development and product management before we get out in the market for possible commercialization. So let's look further. So there is a particular user-centered design process which is typically followed in order to deliver the right user experience to the customers. So there is typically, this is one of the very famous quotes, there is no substitute for personally watching and listening to real people. So this is with the context they wanted to, so this is from Larry Page, founder Google. So they wanted to basically look at that how a person is actually using their software or the platform. This is fine. This is something which they want to really see rather than just assume things. And we have talked about this for a while, like during our customer discovery also. So let's not assume things. Let's not think that this product or this service is going to be the next best thing, like just by looking at a few customers, 5 to 10 or 30 or 50. Let's try to look out in a bigger set of customers. As an entrepreneur, I would not like to just validate my feelings or validate my understanding that this product is going to work and be happy about it. I want to really make sure this product works, right? So I want to really go out as many as possible, like I want to visit those customers and see what is the feedback before my actual launch. So let's say my launch is planned 6 months from now. So this 6 months I want to utilize the maximum of it and find the user feedback, the user experience feedback from as many as possible, right? This will give me the right place and positioning that I'm ready to launch, right? If I get 1,000 feedbacks, I know I'm doing pretty decently. Just from 20 feedbacks, it may not suffice, right? So some of the key aspects of this user-centered design is understanding how the user experiences the product. That is one of the key aspects. So in order to do that, we need to specify the user's needs, and this is one of the aspects which we find from the customer discovery phase, that we need to understand what the user specifically needs. Is it the technicality of the product? So this again boils down to the what value are we providing through our product. So you will see a lot of cross connects and how things are all connected together as we go through these different lectures and different topics which we are all going to thread together around your product development. These are all important aspects. Would they have to be done in a certain order or fashion? That could be a valid question. So user experience typically comes when you are at the stage of designing or prototyping, so they would not typically be as a part of your ideation phase. So we did the customer discovery as a part of our ideation, and that's an extension of that. We would like to understand the user experience, which is as a part of further extension of your customer discovery, right? So we need to specify the user's needs, and most of that is typically done through the customer discovery, and we keep on reiterating and validating. So we have this hypothesis testing, and like we speak with so many customers and trying to reorient our hypothesis and change our kind of update our business model canvas. So we have to change all our guesses into facts. We've talked about it at length. So next is we find design solutions. So once the customer discovery and the initial user experience understanding is kind of there, we need to find what are the key design solutions to make sure that we meet the expectation as well as exceed the expectation of the customers, right? And the final one is evaluate solutions against the user needs, right? Like, so we have to kind of we have found this 5 solutions against the 5 needs which the user has. Like, so user may have a need of like able to hold this particular product in a certain way, or quickly go from app page 1 through 5 rather than having 15 app pages to get to the final to the point or to the payment page. So these could be user requirements, right? And we have a solution where, let's say, the user wanted to go from page 1 to page 5, and we have come up with a solution which is page 10. We think that this would be okay, but this may not work. So actually test it on the users, see what they say, right? Similar with the product, we have made a holder for it like in a particular place, and we showcase it to the users. It's very different from assuming, right? Like, and the user says like, this is not exactly what I wanted. Like, probably if you could move the holder a little bit on the side, might be better, right? So these kind of things are very, very important as a part of user-centered design process. And when we are talking about user, it's again our customers. Sometimes you would see a distinction between the user and the customer. So many a times the customer is the one who is paying for your particular product or service. They could be, so for example, for an elderly population targeting product, you could have the customer as some member of the family, some young member of the family who is paying for the product, but the end user is actually the elderly person who is going to use it, right? So that's how the distinction between customers and users follow. So we are going to wrap it up today here. We will pick it up exactly from here in the next session. So I will see you all. Thank you.